Every story appears ordinary till you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is the story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
A very good evening to you and welcome to CoreTV Primetime News. I am Nenna Oragwa. On our top stories tonight. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. On our first story, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has urged Nigerians to see the current difficult times as an opportunity to do right, as the Buhari presidency will ensure that the Nigerian people benefit from the resources of the nation. The Vice President stated this during a courtesy visit by the Australian Foreign Affairs Assistant Secretary, African Branch, Matthew Niehaus, who was accompanied by the country's High Commissioner in Nigeria, Paul Lemon. Osinbajo, while noting the steps the president is making in the areas of security, governance, anti-corruption and economy, also commends the Australian government for its excellent support in the fight against insurgency in the north-eastern part of the country. Speaking earlier, Niehaus congratulates the Buhari administration, observing that the president is off to a good start with Australia, looking forward to doing more with the government of Nigeria. Of the present administration aimed at enhancing transparency and accountability in the management of public funds, the federal government has adopted accrual-based accounting system for greater accountability. Minister of Finance, who was represented by the Director, Special Duties, Mohammed Yari, made this known at International Public Sector Accounting Standards Workshop in Abuja. He says the accrual-based accounting system will improve quality of general purpose reporting by the public sector, thereby increasing transparency and accountability. Our correspondent, Kikela Mokere, completes the reports.
With the world becoming a global village, standardization of financial reporting of government expenditure has become an imperative to not just accountability and probity of public servants, but more importantly, delivering democratic dividends as standard measures for good governance in Nigeria. Thus, Nigeria cannot be isolated from the aims and objectives of global accepted accounting practice. The representative of the Minister of Finance says the accrual-based accounting will ensure holistic reporting of government financial transactions as well as improve service delivery, adding that it will enhance public-private partnership, thereby building confidence between the donor and the lending agencies.
And that prompted this retreat. The objective of ICSAS is to improve the quality of general purpose reporting by public entities, leading to better informed resource allocation decisions by government, thereby increasing transparency and accountability in the financial conduct of government.
In his own submission, the governor of Gombe State says the adoption and the implementation of the new accounting method will improve uniformity of reporting among all public sector entities, as well as enhance decision-making in the area of capital expenditure.
It promotes comparability of financial statements. It provides better disclosure of information for better decision-making. It improves management and stewardship of resources. It increases transparency and accountability.
The Accountant General of the Federation, who was represented by the Director of Funds, reiterated the commitment of the Federal Treasury to always provide the needed leadership in the ongoing reform of public financial management, which is aimed at eliminating corrupt tendency in the policy.
That the Federal Treasury
is committed to supporting the present administration on the change agenda and will at all times provide the needed leadership in the ongoing reforms of public finance management meant to enhance transparency, accountability, sound decision-making, and reduce corruption.
The commencement of IPSA's Accra-based accounting system will no doubt place Nigeria among the nations that institutionalized transparency and accountability, creating investors' confidence both locally and internationally. Kikelomo Okeri, CoreTV News, Abuja.
The Minister of Information, Culture and Tourism, Lai Mohammed, has called for continuous capacity building for media practitioners, whether in form of training, exchange of personnel, or even by exposing practitioners to how things are done in other lands in order to play their roles more effectively. The minister challenges African journalists to change the negative narrative about the continent by daring to tell the African story of challenges that are being taken on with determination. He asked that the journalist story should include that of great strides, even with so much still to be done, and the story of hope that will give citizens reasons to dream big, instead of risking it all to escape to other lands in search of better life. He made a call at the third forum on China-Africa Media Cooperation in Beijing, China. Lai Mohammed at the occasion equally described the Nigerian media as one of the most vibrant in Africa and indeed across the world, while assuring that the government would not stifle press freedom. Members of the Senate are reacting differently to the proposed life pension payment to principal officers of the National Assembly. Speaking to a crew before the day's plenary, some of the senators discountenanced the move, calling it a waste of resources, especially at a time when the country is going through some economic difficulties. Our correspondent, Jamila Fegwa, brings us some of the shared opinions.
There is a proposal on the drawing board for principal officers of the National Assembly to continue earning government pay after they leave office. This proposal was one of the major discourses at the recently concluded Constitutional Review Committee retreat in Lagos, where a vote on the issue was required.
I'm a member of the Constitutional Amendment Committee, and at our retreat I voted against, but the overwhelming thing was in favor.
Now Nigeria is almost in recession. There is no money anywhere, and I think as elected members of the people, we need to feel the pain of Nigerians, and we need to work in accordance that we live a lifestyle.
The nation as it is pulling every resource together and garner for development of the other sectors of the economy. Removing huge amount of money to pay various retired government officials must be an added bone already in the neck of government.
Believe that Nigeria cannot continue to be saddled with that kind of expenditure, particularly when we are crying now that we don't have enough money to pay the teachers and everything concerning wages.
The decision whether or not to agree remains debatable, as some members still believe there is need to wait until the matter comes up for consideration, as there are more important issues to pay attention to in the country right now.
There's a lot of things going on that are more important than this, and we are more concerned about how to improve the life of every Nigerian. That's the purpose of the national. That's what is in our front burner right now. So it's all this pension thing. It's just a rose.
Between the president, the vice president, governors, retired military personnel, and some other major officials entitled to pensions, billions of naira is being expended monthly. With the vote at the Constitutional Review retreat having higher in favor, there is no telling where the pendulum may swing. Jamil Afegwa, CoreTV News, Abuja.
The arraignment of the Senate President Bukola Saraki, his deputy Ike Ekweremadu, and others who are accused of forging the standing rule of the Senate 2015 has been stalled due to non-service of the charges preferred against them by the federal government. Saraki and his fellow accused persons were scheduled to be arraigned today before Justice Yusuf Halilu of the Jabi Division of the Federal Capital Territory High Court for the alleged offense. Judiciary correspondent Basil Lukafo has more in this report.
When the matter was called up during the court proceedings, the defendants were not present on the grounds that they were not served. The presiding judge, Justice Halilu, however, ordered for a substituted court service to be made on them. Justice Halilu cited Section 123 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015 to order that Saraki and his fellow accused persons be served with the court process through the notice board of the National Assembly. The judge has adjourned till June 27 for the court processes to be served and for defendants to appear for their arraignment. Basil Okafor, CoreTV News, Abuja.
Meanwhile, the Code of Conduct Tribunal in Abuja has fixed July 13 to rule on the application filed by the President to the Senate, Bukola Saraki, asking his chairman to disqualify himself from presiding over the trial debated on an alleged false assets declaration. CCT Chairman Danladi Umar fixed the date after defense and prosecution counsels concluded arguments both in favor and against the motion. Judiciary correspondent Basil Okafor was there and brings this report.
The CCT chairman had on June 7th threatened Saraki that the delay tactics employed by his lawyers will not reduce the consequences he would face at the end of the trial. Based on this, Saraki, through his lawyers, filed a motion on notice claiming that the comment by the chairman was prejudicial to him and that he will not get fair trial from the tribunal. He asked the Omar-led tribunal to disqualify itself from presiding over the trial in the interest of justice and also rely on the provision of Section 36 of the 1999 Constitution to support his argument.
Our contention is that by that statement, the judge has already decided that he will convict the defendant, and that what he's saying is that no matter how much you delay the trial, the consequences that await you will not be reduced.
However, the prosecution counsel vehemently opposed the motion, saying that it is frivolous, abuse of court process, and a deliberate attempt to delay the trial.
I felt very disappointed because I'm involved in the proceedings where one witness was cross-examined for 12 days, and from the look of things, they are going to at least 20 days. From the way they are going, they will spend 20 days on a witness. I've never seen that kind of proceedings in my life, where you will spend 12 clear days on a particular witness.
After listening to both counsels, the chairman of the tribunal, Danladi Umar, adjourned till July 13 to deliver a ruling on the application. Saraki is being prosecuted by the federal government on 16-count charge bordering on false and anticipatory access declaration, which he allegedly made between 2003 and 2011 when he served as the governor of Kwara State. Basil Okafor, CoreTV News, Abuja.
If you just joined us, there's still CoreTV Primetime News. Coming up after the break, President Buhari approves the appointment of AIG Ibrahim Idris as Acting Inspector General of Police. Bring details of this and more after this break. Just stay with us.
Every day, every hour, and every minute, news break in Nigeria. Things happen so fast, it's most times difficult to track and comprehend them. But that's what we do right here on Digit 360. 2015, would you want to come back again?
It's like asking Jesus Christ if he knew he was going to die, will you want to come back as the savior of the world again?
We do not just help you track the stories, we break them down, explore all the angles, analyze the issues so that you can fully comprehend the stories and use them to make the right decisions.
With over 7 billion of world population and still counting, the world needs to hear you now than ever. Whatever your ministry or vision is, Gospel Africa will help get you there faster than you think possible. For inquiries and participation, contact 009 503 3859 or 0812-076-0011 or visit www.gospelafricang.com. Gospel Africa, your #1 media solutions for the church today. Gospel Africa, showing on this station at this time.
Glad to have you back at still CoreTV Primetime News. A quick recap of our top stories. For these stories and more of news stories, join us on our social media platforms, facebook.com/CoreTV News, on Twitter at CoreTV News NG, and on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/CoreTV Live Space News. The Acting Inspector General of Police, Ibrahim Idris, says he will discharge the duties of his office creditably without bias to any quarters in the country. He was speaking after a brief meeting at the presidential villa between him, President Muhammadu Buhari, and his predecessor, Solomon Arase. Bring you details in this report presented from our studios. We'll bring you details of that particular report in our subsequent bulletins. The federal government is to deploy a special military squad to Kogi State to tackle kidnapping and other related crimes that have bedeviled the state in recent times. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tuku Buratai, disclosed this to the governor of the state, Yahaya Bello, of the planned deployment during a meeting at the state's capital, Lokoja. He said the federal government is worried over the increase in kidnapping and other related crimes and is ready to cap the situation. On the spot, Governor Bello requested for more help from the federal government, saying that he had initiated Operation Know Your Neighbor in the state to further check the activities of criminals. Governor Bello further disclosed that the state would soon accommodate a death sentence in its law for any caught kidnapper. Heads of various security agencies in Plateau State are giving their findings on the current peace situation in the state. They unanimously note that the measure of peace currently being enjoyed in the state now is entirely different from how it was a year ago. Our Plateau State correspondent tells us more in this report presented from our studios.
According to the security heads, apart from the skirmishes of criminalities, peace has largely returned to Plateau State compared to a few years ago. Commander Operation Safe Haven, a military task force comprising the various military services set up to maintain law and order in Plateau State and part of the Northeast, says the security architecture in Plateau State has greatly improved in the last 1 year.
Security architecture in Plateau State for the past 1 year has tremendously improved. Most of our security agencies have been working around the clock. The government has done a lot.
Coordinator of the state-owned military outfit known as Operation Rainbow says people can now move freely in places where they could not go before due to their ethnic or religious affinities.
People can sleep with their two eyes closed now. We've had reports of that. Certain hitherto no-go areas, people freely moving and out.
Plateau State Commissioner of Police, speaking on the general security situation in the country, says security in Plateau State has improved. He attributes the increased level of peace in the state to the joint efforts of the various security agencies.
Security-wise, there is improvement now. Vis-a-vis what is happening in other parts of the Federation, a lot of efforts are being made by the security agencies. We identified some areas that are a bit prone.
Secretary to the state government, responding on behalf of the government, gives kudos to the present administration that has left no stone unturned in its search for peace for the troubled state.
Situations where you could not go to certain environments within Plateau State, and the hinterland, especially in about 3 or 4 local governments of Barrack, Liberia, Jos South.
Plateau State has had to deal with killings as a result of conflicts arising from ethnic, farmers' herdsmen and communal clashes, which started in 2001.
Still on happenings in Plateau State, the state government is to assist its farmers through microfinance banks to obtain loans for agricultural purposes. The Director General of the Plateau State Microfinance Agency, Haggai Gutau, made this known in a meeting with microfinance operators and the state government officials in Jos. Although the effect is yet to be seen, the state government says it has taken steps to make agriculture the mainstay of the state economy. The reports.
The meeting, which was convened in Jos, reveals that the focus is to assist the active poor in the rural areas and in turn serve as a stimulus to the real sector of the economy. Director General of the Plateau Microfinance Agency says in preparation for the several intervention funds, The state government has applied for microfinance banks that will be used to channel funds to farmers in the state.
The governor is talking about the issue of promoting farm prosperity. And you should know that the target groups are the rural active poor. So there are a lot of interventions that will come in place, and we will use microfinance banks to stimulate the real sectors of the economy.
State chairman of the National Association of Microfinance reveals that of the 15 microfinance banks in the state, only 2 have state licenses, while the others are of unity, and are pleading with the Director General to increase the number so as to adequately accommodate the large number of farmers when the intervention funds are released.
Customers are anxiously waiting with great hope and expectation and pray you intervene so that the funds can be released to them to help develop their businesses so as to improve their livelihood.
The Director General warns that every fund that will be given must be accounted for and paid back within the stipulated period, and any microfinance bank caught in any unprofessional act will be made to face the law.
Any fund that the government will attract into the state through the agency, you should know there is a price that has been paid for it. I will not allow the government to burn the burden. We must manage the fund in a professional manner to ensure that our people get value for it.
It is expected that when the intervention or bailout funds are released to the state, residents will feel the impact positively.
In an effort to boost its economy, the Kwara State government has revealed that it is partnering Chinese firms to rejuvenate its textile industry. The governor, Abdul Fattah Ahmed, made this known after undergoing his biometric verification exercise at the government house in Ilorin. The exercise is aimed at creating a platform for youth to boost productivity. Our correspondent, Oyedeji Lukuman, has more in this report.
Governor Abdul Fattah Ahmed explains that his government is determined to key into the change agenda of the presidency by diversifying its economy. On this wise, the Kwara State government is partnering Chinese firms to tap into the economic benefits of the textile industry. The partnership involves a $56 billion deal and is expected to provide more than 3,000 jobs for the youths.
We went to China largely in response to the federal government's drive to not only support industrialization but to create jobs for our youth. And the premise on that case that we went to China, we met with them and they are happy to come to us.
Following a directive to ascertain the number of civil servants in the state and also to weed out ghost workers to reduce the cost of governance, Governor Hamid also took part in the biometric verification at Government House in Ilorin. He expresses his satisfaction at the conduct of the exercise and vows to terminate the appointment of any ghost worker and appointee detected in the exercise.
Well, I'm happy that the exercise is going on very well because you and I know that for any proper planning process, you require a good data base. And this, I'm sure, is going in to support the much desired database that Kwara State requires for planning.
It is expected that the exercise will allow for transparency in the Kwara State Civil Service as well as improve the diversification drive of the government.
The Bauchi State government has released over 10 million naira for the training of drug revolving fund operators. Governor Muhammad Abdullahi says establishment of the Bauchi State Drugs and Medical Consumable Management Agency is a move in making Bauchi a healthy state ready for foreign investment. The agency is being conducted with the overall objective of administering the operation of the Drugs Revolving Fund and drugs manufacturing units in the state, and also to ensure the regular supply of drugs at an affordable price. The governor adds that the capital investment in subsequent drug supplies general hospitals will be replenished with money collected from the sales of those drugs. We now move on to Taraba State, where the chapter of the All Progressive Congress has suffered setback as the party state secretary, Tony Baba Suleiman, and a number of its members have decamped to the People's Democratic Party, PDP. Defecting members have been received at the party secretariat in Jalingo by the state governor, Darius Ishako, and the party chairman. Our correspondent, Uduak Godwin, gives us details of the story.
The All Progressive Congress State Secretary, Southern Local Government APC Chairman, and others are defecting on the grounds that the APC in the state no longer have a good reputation. Elated by the development, the state PDP chairman stressed that PDP has been the vote in Taraba since 1999 and would continue to form governments irrespective of the gimmicks by some people and admonished persons interested in enlisting with PDP to, as a matter of urgency, join the train.
There is no opposition in Taraba. Taraba is PDP. Whoever that tells them in Abuja that there is APC in Taraba, there is no APC. The present government of a PDP in Taraba State is working to accommodate every member of the public, every indigenous of Taraba State.
The state governor, represented by the chief of staff at the government house, says the defection is a manifestation of the truth the PDP government is showcasing to the people of the state.
We are going to stand by the truth as a government in everything that we're doing. We are not going to politicize the security of the people of Taraba State. We are not going to politicize the economic status of the economic upliftment of the people of Taraba State. We are going to continue to speak and stand by the truth.
The defecting members were visibly elated, saying the ill attitudes of the state chapter of the APC towards the members compelled them to throw away their membership card and cling to the PDP.
We wish to emphasize that this is not about us. There has to be a Taraba before there can be a Taraba state chapter of any party. But as it is, the APC of the day is not in the interest of Taraba State.
Controversies arose shortly after the governorship election, with the APC candidate losing at the tribunal. Udwa Godwin, CoreTV News, Jalingo.
Meanwhile, members of the All Progressive Congress and the ruling People's Democratic Party in Ekiti State have been trading words of allegations by Governor Ayodele Fayose that the APC is behind the ongoing strike in the state. This is even as a strike called by the leadership of the Labour Congress in the state continues, with no sign of its being called off. The Ekiti State government insists there is no money with which to meet the demands of the workers, sparking blame trade between the ruling PDP and APC. Our correspondent Adeleke Olagbami's report is taken from our studios. Chieftains of the All Progressive Congress, who spoke to CoreTV crew in Ado-Ekiti, the state capital, has blamed the non-payment of the workers' salaries entirely on Governor Ayodele Fayose. They lament the terrible plight of the state workers, some of whom they say have died of hunger, while many have returned to farming or riding of commercial motorcycles, popularly called Okada, to make ends meet.
Is it reasonable that we are going to just start telling somebody to go on strike to claim his salary? Do you have to, somebody who is hungry, you hear the story of somebody stealing a pot of soup. Do you have to tell such people to go on strike to demand for their pay? Why your own children are riding Alfa Romeo all around?
And I'm not surprised. He's the first man in Nigerian history, to date, quote me, that we join strike with the striking workers. He said it that, oh, my workers are on strike, and in sympathy with them, I'm equally striking. It's like abdicating his responsibilities.
On the contrary, the Speaker of the Ekiti State House of Assembly blames the APC for the continued industrial action in the Ekiti State, saying the APC had been inciting the workers by fronting them to insist on 3 months' salary.
It's not ordinary. And that was why the executive arm of government took pains to study the situation and found out that the actions were not ordinary. And it was being sponsored by the opposition. It's unfortunate.
With the strike already in its 4th week, it had come to the fore that both the labor leaders and government have not been able to agree on the salaries of how many months should be paid the workers. The newly elected Secretary General of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, Bankindo Aliyu, says he will work with all stakeholders to move the oil exporters cartel forward. The OPEC Secretary General, while on an appreciation visit to President Muhammadu Buhari, discloses that the oil exporters cartel will be repositioned to serve the interest of the founding fathers and to also ensure that the group continues to be relevant in a changing world. With the launch of two satellites by SES Platform Services, Nigerians are being assured of an integrated digital broadcasting even as the country seeks to switch from analog to digital broadcasting. Speaking at the media party, representatives of the ACE platform providers say they have embarked on every necessary research to offer quality TV service to every household. Our correspondent, Akin Obake, has more.
The switch from analog to digital broadcasting in Nigeria has been greeted with high hopes as service providers affirm their readiness to provide affordable platforms for the Nigerian market. One of such firms is SES Platform Services, who say they have carried out extensive research in satellite broadcasting processes. SES Platform Services reveals its company's plan.
55% of the cases in terrestrial homes watch more TV. So you can see that there's more TV and being watched in a satellite home. And there's reasons for this. The reasons we found are because satellite offers a good quality digital TV signal which is reliable.
There are plans to partner with other service providers to offer free and affordable TV platforms for end users in Nigeria.
We've partnered with the local providers, local operators. For example, CCNL, who's been selected by the NBC to provide what we call the free TV for Nigeria, which is DTH and DTT, that's satellite and terrestrial.
This is the first TV market research data in Nigeria. No one else has delivered this. And the reason that SES has delivered this is because we've seen in many markets around the world, especially those that are converting from analog to digital.
With over 24 million terrestrial viewers in Nigeria, the broadcast media is surely set for a revolution as the new face of digitalization unfolds. Akin Obakeye, CoreTV News, Lagos.
The Nigerian Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, is calling on Nigerians to reach out more and offer support to victims of drug abuse as the world seeks to tackle the menace. At a briefing in Lagos in commemoration of this year's International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking, Chairman of the agency, Muhammad Mustafa, says NDLEA is set to establish a rehabilitation center to help victims. Our correspondent, Victoria Solomon, has more.
Drug abuse is not limited to age, gender, race, or belief. Many cases of death or psychological disorders are traced to this vice. To combat the menace, the United Nations has set aside June 26th as the International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking. Nigerian Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, speaks on the significance of the day.
There will always be telltale signs. So we're asking the people around potential drug abusers. There will be little signs that you will see. Take heed of them, report them at the earliest stages, don't be ashamed.
It further speaks on the agency's plan to curtail the excesses of drug abuse.
We are trying to get one standard one first, such that that kind of facility can be replicated elsewhere. The government is very much cognizant of it. It's cooperating, and in the not too short distance, it will give us a model, how we go.
NDLEA spokesman also advises strongly against the use of unprescribed drugs.
People can sing without taking drugs. People can, write without taking drugs. You can be inspired. Environment, we should look for positive, things to influence us rather than drugs.
The fight against drug abuse is a fight for all to regain the soul of our lost youths and redeem the future of Nigeria. Victoria Solomon, CoreTV News, Lagos.
Still ahead on the foreign scene, International Criminal Court sentences former Congolese Vice President Jean-Pierre Bemba to 18 years in prison. Bring details of this and more foreign stories and sports after this break. Just stay with us.
Angela, that's a very difficult question.
It is difficult to respond to that question.
Angela, that's a great question.
Great question, Angela.
Angela, that is a very great question.
That's a great question, Angela.
Okay, that's a great question.
Yeah, very good question.
That's a good question.
That's a good question.
That's an interesting question.
This is an interesting question you pose.
60 Minutes with Angela. Again, answers to every question you always wanted to ask.
CoreTV News now live on all Androids.
Welcome to CoreTV Primetime News.
Download CoreTV News app from your Play Store. Click on the menu to see all our top stories from politics, sports, business, foreign news and live TV to watch us live on your mobile.
I want to know why I should be believing them.
You can also click on video to see all our YouTube videos. CoreTV News, a 24-hour news station.
Glad to have you back. On the foreign scene, the International Criminal Court, ICC, has sentenced former Congolese Vice President Jean-Pierre Bemba to 18 years for murder, rape and pillaging committed by its troops in the Central African Republic over a decade ago. The verdict announced today focused on the actions of its troops as Bemba commanded a private army of 1,500 men who intervened in the neighboring Central African Republic civil war. Announcing the judgment, Judge Sylvia Steiner says the former militia leader failed to exercise control over his private armies sent into the Central African Republic in late October 2002. Prosecutors at the ICC had called for a minimum 25-year jail term in a landmark case, the first to focus on rape as a weapon of war by the ICC, which was set up in 2002 to try the world's worst crimes. Vehicles have been touched and roads barricaded with rocks and burning tires in South Africa's capital Pretoria in violent protest over a disputed mayoral candidate for upcoming municipal elections. A portion of the country's main highway, the N1, was closed off after protesters hurled stones at cars. The unrest erupted after the ruling African National Congress ANC released the names of mayoral nominees for local government elections on August 3. Similar protests broke out earlier this month in Durban in the home province of President Jacob Zuma, signaling increasing factionalism within the party, ahead of a vote which analysts believe could see the ANC lose power in some major cities. Police, however, refused to give details of damage or casualties caused by the protest, but said they were investigating a case of murder along with malicious damage to property and intimidation. An Egyptian judge has quashed a government decision to hand back 2 Red Sea islands to Saudi Arabia. More than 150 persons have been jailed in connection with protests over the deal, though many were later acquitted or had their sentences reduced on appeal. Today's verdict is not final and could be overturned by a higher court. Egypt's President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi announced the return of Tiran and Sanafia Islands in April during a visit by Saudi Arabia's King Salman. Tiran and Sanafia are uninhabited islands situated at the mouth of the Gulf of Aqaba, a strategically important part of the Red Sea that is bordered by Israel, Jordan, Egypt and Saudi Arabia. President Sisi's decision in April to cede control of the islands sparked widespread unrest and criticism. King Salman had announced the multi-billion-dollar aid package to Egypt from Saudi Arabia on his visit, leading some to accuse Sisi of selling the islands. The U.S. Senate has rejected plans to tighten gun controls, including restriction of weapon sales to people on terrorism watch list. 4 proposals have been brought before the Senate after 49 persons died in an attack on a gay nightclub in Florida, but Democratic and Republican senators voted along party lines, blocking each other's views. Republican Senator John Cornyn discloses that the issue on ground is not about gun control, but rather should be a fight to eliminate Islamic extremism, which he says is a root cause for what happened in Orlando. We now move on to sports.
Our style, and that's what he delivered.
The Minister of Youth and Sports, Solomon Darling, has promised to support Nigerian athletes and embark on foreign training to enhance the participation at forthcoming Olympic sporting event in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Darling made his known during the visit to the camp of the athletes by the minister in Lagos. Darling assures the athletes in embarking on foreign tour interfaces. He also says he believes that the state of facilities will be better before the next Olympics, wishing the athletes will well at the competition. The Nigeria Football Federation has revealed that it will announce a substantive coach for the Super Eagles national team once all options are considered. NFF President Amaju Pinnick stated this at a sports event in Onikon, Lagos. Pinnick says at the moment everything remains temporary inasmuch as they are weighing a lot of options. They're not leaving the doors closed. They're still working with the coaches that are there while looking at the adequacies and inadequacies and looking at appraisals. Further explained that his dream is to have a Nigerian coach any day and any time, but it goes beyond technical competence in the field. It was also talked about managerial ability and charisma, and the Federation do not want to make mistake. Pinnick assured Nigerians that whoever will be appointed, be it Nigerian or foreign coach, will be in the best interest of Nigerian football. The Togo national team captain Emmanuel Adebayo has expressed shock at the death of his former coach Stephen Keshi, who died early this month. Adebayo made this known while speaking in the aftermath of an exhibition game played in Lomé to honor the late Tatsian. He says the late coach taught him a lot in the early stage of his career, and his death is a great loss to African football. The game was watched by almost 8,000 crowd of football fans at the municipal stadium between the current Togolese team and Keshi and friends. It ended 6-2 in favor of the Hawks. And that's it on CoreTV Primetime News. But before we go, a quick recap of our top stories. Thank you so very much for staying with us tonight. I am